So Indiana University's medical school is actually the nation's largest. We have more than 1,400 medical students at any time. On top of that, we have more than 1,200 residents and fellows, plus graduate programs for master's degrees and also PhD students. Guadalupe Jimenez is an exceptional example of our students. Guadalupe completed 2 tours of duty in Iraq as a member of the United States Navy, serving with Marine units in active combat during the Iraq War from 2003 to 2008. She was often part of a team that was first on the ground to treat battlefield injuries in emergency field hospitals. After 5 years of active duty, she returned to the United States to complete her undergraduate degree in biology at Stony Brook University. In recognition of her outstanding service and leadership, Guadalupe was recently selected as a 2020 Tillman Scholar. The award is named for Pat Tillman, of course, the professional football player who enlisted in the U.S. Army following 9/11 and was subsequently killed in Afghanistan. The Tillman Scholars Program supports our nation's active duty service members, veterans, and military spouses by investing in their education and professional development. We're proud to have Guadalupe join us, be part of our community, and we're excited to hear from her this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us today. It is a pleasure and an honor to share with you the story of my journey to medical school. It began on a hot August day, much like this one, where my mother and father, my sister and my brother made the trip from Mexico to New York City. I made the journey as well, but I made it in my mother's womb. You see, prior to me, my mother lost a couple children, but she was determined not to lose this one. So she came to America, and with adequate health care, I was born. Since then, many things have threatened to take my life, including deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, and most recently, a bout with COVID-19. But I'm standing before you today, alive and breathing, months away from achieving my goal of becoming a physician. After coming to America, my father worked a couple jobs to put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads, but we continued to live in poverty. Fortunately, people from the community helped us along the way. The Catholic Church provided us with clothes, public schools provided us with breakfast and lunch, and with government assistance, we always had health insurance. And my mother made sure that we never missed a medical or dental appointment. Still, my childhood had additional struggles. For one reason or another, my education always took a backseat to my social circumstances. Coming up through crowded inner-city public schools was a struggle in and of itself. They have few resources and a high student-to-teacher ratio. There was a period in time in elementary school where my family and I lived in shelters. I was transferred from one school to another and to another, and in a critical time in my education, my reading and math foundation was interrupted. When I was 14, I started working, and all throughout high school, I worked, and at times I would even work full-time. All this to say that I never had the opportunity to completely focus on school. When I entered high school, I didn't know what I would do after I graduated. I told myself that I wanted to be a nurse, but I knew that that goal was likely unattainable. My family had little resources, we were poor, and I couldn't stop working because I had to contribute. So I went to my guidance office to discuss this, and there was a radio on next to me as I waited. That day was September 11th, 2001. I listened in as planes crashed into the World Trade Center, and later them crumbling down to the ground. That terrorist group was trying to instill fear in us, and they were trying to destroy our way of life. But I wasn't having that. And after some thought and prayer, I decided to join the United States Navy to serve with Marines as a hospital corpsman, a medic. Twice, I was deployed to Iraq, and I worked in shock trauma platoons, field hospitals, and I also worked as a CASEVAC corpsman. And it was on those deployments that I learned how to care for my patients and to connect with them in a way to let them know that I would do everything I could to save them. It was as a result of those deployments that I knew I wanted to do more in medicine. So I set a goal to become a physician's assistant. I came back and I entered community college. Friends there encouraged me to apply to a summer research program called BioPrep. That program changed the trajectory of my life. It was a challenging program, and I also discovered the world of research. There was many diverse people there, and there were also all people that were trying to achieve similar goals as mine. I fell in love with research. I transferred into a 4-year school, and I completed my requirements for my biology degree. But I knew that my job in the military wasn't done. So I enlisted into United States Navy Reserve, and I deployed to Afghanistan. When I came back, I started working with a retired Navy physician at Jacobi Medical Center, a hospital in New York City, the Bronx. I started taking care of families there, and those families reminded me of my own, and some in much worse circumstances than mine. And I knew I had to help them, and I knew I had to do more. And it was at that hospital, on those late nights, that I decided to become a physician. I started studying for my MCAT while I was working and volunteering. I looked into over 200 programs, and I came across the Master's of Science and Medical Science program here at the IU School of Medicine. That program changed the trajectory of my life. I met wonderful people there that mentored me, and I met wonderful people there that, excuse me. I started studying for my MCAT, as I mentioned, and I came across the Master of Science and Medical Science program at the IU School of Medicine. And I entered the program with the help of loans, but because I had no other financial support, it became a period in which I struggled the most financially in my adult life. I often was choosing between gas and food. More often than once, I paid rent with my credit card. I needed a job, but because of the intensity of the program and my commitment to it, I couldn't take one. In the end, the hardships were worth it. Through the MSMS program, I met wonderful people, many of whom continued mentoring me to this day. I was able to dive into the world of clinical research, which I love even more than bench work. I found a physician mentor in emergency medicine, and because of my work with him, I was published in the American Journal of Cardiology. And can I just say that I never in my life would have imagined being published in such a prestigious journal. And to this day, I continue to be amazed. After I completed the MSMS program, I entered medical school. Thanks to scholarships, I no longer have to choose between paying one necessity over another. The scholarships gave me the freedom to thrive. It was because of donors like you, I was able to focus my mental energy on becoming a healer. The scholarships helped me in 4 distinct ways. They provided me the money for my basic living expenses. They alleviated the psychological burden of not knowing how to make ends meet. It also allowed me to focus my energy on pursuing my goal of becoming a physician, an emergency medicine physician. And lastly, it allowed me time for personal growth. And as a result, I was able to give back to my community. I was able to help the uninsured population through my work in the student outreach clinic. I helped the homeless community through my work with a Catholic ministry called Operation Leftover. I was also able to help the Latinx community through my policy work in the Latino Medical Student Association. And lastly, I was able to give back to my student body through my work in the Medical Student Council. None of this would be possible without people like you who have the heart to give. Yet 2020 has come with its own unique challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic changed the face of my 3rd and 4th year medical school, which moved online in March. As the pandemic intensified, many of my family members fell ill in New York City. This included my mother, my sister, a couple of my aunts, and some of my cousins. I had no other choice but to go to New York City and help them through their illness. And as a result, I fell ill myself. Fortunately, my illness was relatively mild, but my mother didn't have the same luck. As her respiratory distress worsened, I had to take care of her at home because there was just no hospital beds in New York City at that time. She and my aunts were eventually hospitalized, but fortunately, they all recovered, and that was a true miracle. Since coming to America on that hot August day so many years ago, my family and I have overcome so much. These trials have built incredible resilience in me, and I want to pass along to everyone listening a final message. Right now, our community and our country are going through great challenges. Trials like these can be taxing, and they weigh heavy on us. I want to let everybody know that things will get better. What seems like an eternity right now is only but a fraction of our lives. The storm will pass, and the sun will shine once again. Rest assured, we will overcome this together. Thank you.